So for this polynomial, using the Rational Zeros Theorem, we found that our possible rational zeros for this function are 1, plus or minus 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 10, 15, and 30. And then using Descartes' Rule of Signs, we know that there's one positive, 0, and then we know that there's either 2 or 0 negative zeros. Okay, so we're going to just start testing things in this, and I'm going to test using synthetic division. So we list out our coefficients, 1, 4, negative 11, and negative 30. And then we just start testing out our numbers here. And so I'm just going to start with 1 because that's nice and easy. So we'll plug 1 in and we do our synthetic division. So we bring down the 1 and multiply that number by that number, and we get our 1. And then we add these together and we get 5. And 5 times 1 is 5. And then add negative 11 plus 5 is negative 6. And then negative 6 times 1 is negative 6. And then if you add these, you get negative 36. Well, we're looking for a 0 right there in order to get that this is a 0. So positive 1 doesn't work. Okay, so I'm done with that. I gotta now erase my work and go back. And instead of 1, we'll try something else. I'm going to go ahead and try 2. I'm just going to go through my positive until I find my positive 0. So if I do my 2, again, I go through my synthetic division, bring down the 1, multiply by 2, add, multiply, add, and multiply and add. And again, we don't have a 0 there. We need a 0 in this spot, and we didn't get a 0. So we erase and go to our next one. Now let's try 3. So 3, we bring down the 1, multiply by 3, add, multiply 7 by 3, add, multiply, and add. And we get a 0 here. And that's fantastic. Getting a 0 right there, that tells us that 3 is a 0. That's our one positive 0. So we're going to have an x minus 3 as a factor. And we could keep trying because we have our one positive 0. We could go through and start trying to find negative zeros by plugging in the negative numbers. But at this point, we can actually write what this turns out as in factored form. These coefficients are what's left over after factoring out the x minus 3. So these are now coefficients on a quadratic, because this was a cubic. So we drop down by 1 power, and we get 1x squared plus 7x plus 10. And now this is a quadratic that we should be comfortable factoring. And so we go ahead and do that. We need two numbers that multiply to be 10 and add to be 7. And that's pretty easy to see. Is x plus 5 and x plus 2. That means that our zeros are 3 and then negative 5 and negative 2. And of course we get those by setting each of these factors equal to 0. So those are the 3 zeros of this polynomial.